Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. I am home with the movies.
And I'm Jackson.
And we are far from the shallow now, Jackson. We're more like a turd in the wind.
Oh, boy. The line of the year.
Right.
I would say.
Oscar worthy, as far as I'm concerned. Bored and Annoyed. You know what else was Oscar worthy? The Lions.
Yeah.
Acting like they actually won that game.
Sloppiest football game award.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
That was...
It was great when it was 24-0.
Right.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching Crosby miss 5 kicks.
Oh, my God. I don't know how... I haven't looked at the news today, but I'm like, how is he even there still?
Well, it was funny because, when he missed the extra point, he kind of gave the holder a look like, I don't know, dude. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It was
Kickers. It's been a bad year for kickers. There's been
weren't
some
you complaining
wacky...
about yours for a while?
He's missed a couple long ones.
Yeah.
But
nothing
the
like
Browns lost a game purely because of a kicker. You could make the argument that the Packers certainly would have at least made it more of a game yesterday.
Yeah, well, what was it, 12 points that he missed or something?
13 points, but they also went for 2 fourth downs and converted on plays they never would have gone for fourth down.
Right.
Both of those led for 2 touchdowns.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, I try not to think about the what ifs, but it's just and I don't lay it all at his feet either. There were lots of drop passes, and every 2 plays when they were on offense, they had some sort of holding or some sort of pass interference on.
The
dropped
refs are
passes.
out of control too.
Yeah,
the punt call, I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they said it bounced off a Packer, and the Lions recovered it at the 1.
Yep.
Now, I don't really understand making the call on the field, but I understand how once you've made the call, there was nothing to overturn it. Right. But it's just it's like they want to have an impact on the game. They called a push-off offensive pass interference on us once that was just absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, we don't need to spend too much time on it. But yeah,
thank you for sparing me the pain.
If I had to look at the schedule at the beginning of the year, I never would have thought that we'd lose to the Jets and 49ers and beat the Patriots and Packers. So
yeah,
it's an odd world.
I was going to say, isn't that just the Lions though?
It is. That's true.
I looked at the Packers and I'm like, this is maybe the least disciplined I've ever seen them play.
Yeah, they looked bad. They had a bunch of young guys on offense running around.
They did. I was wildly unimpressed. But like I said, it's kind of what I expected after the first few games this season. It's going to be rough until they can sort of right the ship.
Is McCarthy the coach next year?
Well, there are those rumors that Rodgers doesn't like him. He's the most winningest coach outside of Belichick in the last 12 years or something like that. But how much of that is the fact that you have Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, he wasn't very winning. He wasn't winning games last year.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I don't know. I think probably not.
See, I think if they don't make the playoffs, he's gone because you only have You just paid Rodgers to stick around for another 5 more years after this. I believe he'll have. Yeah. So you need to win a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And he might not be the guy.
Well, he's just a meat and potatoes kind of.
He looks like meat and potatoes.
He does look like meat. I like me some brats.
Yep. But yeah, football.
Good for the Lions.
Good for us. Yep. Bye week. So
you guys got a bye
Lions
week
next week.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I won't be talking about the Packers next week. They don't deserve it.
Oh. All right. Well, news. What do we have? We don't have much, right?
No, we've got so there's that Jon Favreau Star Wars series, The Mandalorian. We finally got a title. It takes place in between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Any details on who the Mandalorian is?
All we know is that it's basically the race of the Mandalorians,
yes.
Boba Fett and Jango Fett.
Right.
That's basically all we know is that it's that character on the outskirts of the New Republic or whatever, where he's not really affected by the new laws of the New Republic.
I kind of like the idea of like a seedy underbelly Star Wars show.
Right. The thing that's got me most excited, though, is the fact that they've got all these like talented directors that are coming in.
Your boy
Taika,
whatever the hell his name is. I don't try to say his name.
But yeah, I'm glad they got Taika. They've got other people too. So I don't. He's the only one I can remember because I was shocked.
Oh God, what's her name? Like I want to say like Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard is one of them. Yeah. And they got they got this. They got a woman who directed a really good TV show, and I cannot remember it, but it's a really good list of directors. So pretty pumped for that.
It's interesting to me that that's what they're doing. Did they cancel the Boba Fett movie?
I have no idea.
Because it's interesting to me that would be the show if they're doing like a Boba Fett movie. I mean, I'm assuming this guy's going to be like some sort of a badass, like mercenary bounty hunter type.
Right. I mean, did you see the pictures of?
Yeah. It looks like Boba Fett.
Yep. Basically Boba Fett. Brown Boba Fett.
All right. Well, that'll get the Boba Fett fans excited.
I'm hoping watch him be a better a better character.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
not that hard.
Right.
But.
I was going to say I had a bowel movement last night that was more interesting than Boba Fett, but
yeah. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it went into the Sarlacc pit.
Low-hanging fruit. We also saw some pictures from the new Pet Sematary movie.
Now, I'm excited for this.
Right.
It's got like Jason Clarke, John Lithgow. The cat looks pretty evil and gross, which is perfect. I'm a fan of the book. This is the one where Stephen King apparently had said that he had finished it, and when he read it, because he finishes a book, he puts it away for a couple months, and then he reads it.
Okay.
And this one disturbed him so much that he didn't want to publish it.
Oh.
And then his wife read it, and they had one more book that he needed to release to fulfill his obligations on some contract with whoever was his publisher at the time.
Okay.
And she's like, why don't you just give him that book? And he's like, I didn't think that it would ever be published. It's disturbing. Yeah. I mean, the gist is, guy's little baby boy dies, and what would you do
to bring
back your loved ones or whatever?
Right.
And yeah, sometimes dead is better is the tagline.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And after it, I feel like let's get these cranking out now. I know they've got the Shining sequel coming out.
Yes. This is all exciting, though, because like what we were talking about with the whole King shared universe.
I don't know what studios are making all of these. I would think they'd have to be,
They have to be the same studio,
right?
Yes. But
it's doable.
I mean, fingers crossed. I mean, if Marvel and Sony can work together to get Spider-Man in a shared universe, hopefully you could do something like that here.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't hurt anyone.
No,
so.
They'd be stupid not to, because a rising tide raises all ships.
It's true. After it, I'm hoping someday we get a movie for The Stand. I don't know how filmable The Stand is because it's just so fucking big and like.
Well, doesn't that have the Man in Black from the Dark Tower series? But he has a different name in that book, correct?
His name, oh Jesus, what's his name? Randall Flagg.
Okay.
And yeah, he's fucking great. He's an awesome villain.
Yeah, Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's basically a post-apocalyptic. See, that's the other thing is like, that's kind of hot now.
Right.
Or it's kind of cooling off. I feel like it was hot for a while.
The post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think they could do it.
Post-apocalyptic is always going to be hot.
That's probably true.
We're always thinking that we're going to kill ourselves.
We're kind of hitting that, like, we've talked about it before, the 80s nostalgia. It's like the perfect time to crank out a bunch of Stephen King shit, you know?
And they all don't have to be set in the 80s, too. Like, the new It is not going to be set in the 80s, which will be nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for this movie.
I'm excited for the new It.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
I'm excited for just about anything Stephen King at this point.
Right.
So
I would agree.
But do we want to get into shit we watched?
Yeah, let's do an early shit we watched. So I suppose we'll just get it out of the way right away. The Man in the High Castle We both watched the first episode. Did you watch any more than that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I was lost as fuck. And I was just like, just hyping this show up last week.
Right.
And I'm watching it. So I haven't watched it in a year before this. So I'm depending on you.
Okay.
To give me a little bit of a rundown of what's going on.
Well, let's get this out of the way first. Did you like the episode despite being completely and utterly lost?
Sure, because the characters are all still good. There's just a few questions like, what's her name's sister is there. They mentioned that she's dead in her sister's world and her sister's dead in ours.
Right.
So there's more than 2 worlds.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's a bunch of worlds out there.
Yeah, which would make sense. It's the multiverse theory.
Yeah. But no, I liked the bit with Obergruppenführer Smith with his son's funeral or whatever.
Right.
I thought that was good.
Right. Yeah, that was a good scene.
I thought that it's interesting that like the Japanese are worried now that someone's going to notice that they're not testing the giant hydrogen bomb. It's just a puny little nuclear bomb that they're testing.
And the Nazis will regret not attacking them.
Yes.
Entirely possible. They're Nazis.
Yes, they will do something bad.
Yeah, I liked Joe. What's his name?
Joe Blake.
Buck? Joe Blake.
Joe
Buck.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Buck. He had a great arc in this.
Yeah, he's a football.
But yeah. So what was the deal with the blonde too?
The blonde. Oh, the blonde female who's coming over.
Where he met her in Germany, right?
Yeah, they were both experiments from that whole like breeding program.
Yep.
Yeah, she is just. I hate her and I like her. You know what I mean? Like she's got a charisma.
She is hot as hell.
Well, she is very beautiful.
She is.
But she is charismatic, but she's also like this new wave of Nazi.
You can't really figure her out yet.
She's like an aristocrat version of a Nazi. Like if a French person was a Nazi.
But yeah, it's off to a decent start. Yeah, I would say. We'll have more to say about it. You can't really review it yet because we've only seen one episode. We wouldn't want to be Rotten Tomatoes people.
Exactly. I mean, the show is getting into the thing that I'm a little afraid of, which is I could see this being a great book because you've got 500 pages to finish this story or whatever. But now you're into a TV series and it's kind of like, make sure that you don't stretch your story beyond its means.
That's kind of funny. I think the book is actually short.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
So they're taking this way beyond whatever the source material was.
And that's what I'm concerned about because it's getting into I know you like slow burn, but it's starting to be a little too slow for me.
Yeah, and it's starting something new. There's like new thread. Yeah.
Again.
Which is what these shows do.
They do it every season,
You just hope that it's good.
I mean, it's just, I saw it so clearly in the last season of the show, which was the first 2 or 3 episodes are your act 1. You're setting up the situation for the season, and then, 3, 4, and 5 are act 2, and then the last 5 or 4 or whatever episodes are act 3. It's very structured in a good way, but it's kind of like, are we going to get to the point where like we finish some of like these overarching things?
They're not really killing main characters.
That's another thing too.
Yeah, I feel like somebody has to die this season.
I feel like more than one person needs to die.
Right, that's probably
because
true.
Everybody's living in a fascist dictatorship.
Yeah. Did Frank Fink die or whatever? He died, didn't he?
I don't believe so.
When he like bombed the Japanese embassy and shit?
I can't remember, if I'm honest.
I guess it's not an embassy, it's their country.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they're not welcome here. They're just here. But yeah,
I don't think he died. I don't think he did.
Well, see, that shows where I'm at in the show.
Right. Well, I just watched it a week ago and I already forgot. But it's a really dense show.
It's complicated.
There's lots of stuff that happens.
It's like Game of Thrones-esque in that way, where there's all these different threads going on. You're bouncing from place to place, a bunch of different settings.
Right.
Even in time, there's different settings.
Well, yeah, because I got a little confused when they were talking about Trudy and her other time and what's her name being dead, and I was like, wait, what? And then you're meant to infer that there's more than one
there
time.
Has to be, right?
Yeah.
Because she's clearly alive in the one that Shang Tsung went to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was pretty, God, I still loved, I loved all of that.
Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, what else did you watch at home?
Well, let's see here. I watched a movie from the creator of Green Room and Blue Ruin.
Okay.
Which, if you've never seen either of those, they are these like extremely uncomfortable watches.
Yeah.
Like they're
borderline horrors, right?
They're like thrillers, but they make you uncomfortable. But this one,
there was Anton Yelchin was in Green Room.
In Green Room. He was and Patrick Stewart.
And Patrick Stewart was like a neo-Nazi.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they basically get stuck in like a
bar hotel or where. Yeah.
And they get fucking attacked. But this guy Jeremy Saulnier, he did this movie for Netflix. It's called Hold the Dark, and it's got Jeffrey Wright from Westworld. Bernard.
Right.
And basically, he plays this old guy who had written a book. He had spent time with wolves.
Yeah, I saw this trailer, actually.
Yeah, and the woman, her son was taken by a wolf, as were a couple other people in this little Alaskan village.
It seems to be something right up your alley because it's a small town, secluded, and it's not what it seems.
Yeah, so they they bring him up. She wants him to help basically get revenge on this wolf.
Right.
It's fucking weird.
Is it good?
It's okay.
Okay.
It was my least favorite of the 3 of this guy's movies that I've seen. I would recommend it to someone who likes this guy and his movies. The violence in his movies are like when someone's shot in the face, you see
brains,
like, their face. No,
skull
like, it's no, because that would be too fakey. It's like it's very grotesque in its realism.
Okay.
Like a guy gets his jugular nicked. He's like in Iraq in this.
Okay.
And he comes in, he like kills this guy, kills this fellow soldier who's raping this Iraqi woman.
Oh.
And when he walks out, a sniper hits him in the neck. And it's like one of those squirters.
Oh, right.
You know? And there's another scene in this where a guy just like posts up with a machine gun and just fucking kills like a bunch of people in this small town. So there were some scenes that were like, holy shit, like this is exciting, but it has a weird ending. Yeah, everything's not as it seems, clearly.
Because I saw one of the characters has like a wooden wolf mask.
Yes,
and like
a couple of them do.
Yeah, so it's like this, I'm guessing some sort of cult of
and
some
I
kind.
like weird.
Right, exactly.
But it was... the ending didn't do it for me because I'm not a guy who like needs this like crisp, clean break ending. Like I can take something that's like up to interpretation or, you know, like something like Annihilation or something.
Right.
But this one was just like, okay, well, what's your point?
Right.
It's a little too convoluted, I feel like.
I can get behind that because I mean I haven't seen it, but the important things with these sort of like you go into a small town, you've like not everything's what it seems. They're usually heavy on metaphor.
Yes, and it was.
And
I missed a lot of it, I think.
And the thing is like if you don't tie your ending, if you don't tie it all together, that can make the ending feel even more random.
Yep.
So, yeah, I can see that happening.
But yeah, I mean, it's on Netflix.
Right.
I'd say give it a watch. It's better than a lot of the other shit they've come out with. You know, like it's better than like the Forrest Whitaker one with the guy.
Right.
Which I didn't think was awful.
It's probably better than the Michael Pena Extinction.
I would assume. It's like a real movie.
Extinction is one of the worst movies I've seen all year,
if
I'm
this
honest.
came out at like Sundance or something, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Okay.
You know, like it's like a legitimate movie.
Right.
Like it seems too good to be direct to Netflix, just like the production quality and the acting. Jeffrey Wright's fantastic.
Right.
There's a guy from True Blood in it. I don't know the character's name in True Blood, but...
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh, Alexander Skarsgård.
Yes.
The son of Stellan Skarsgård.
That's the guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And he was good.
Yeah.
The Riley Keough or whatever her name is was good. Bunch of good performances. Lots of fun violence. Well, not fun. Horribly uncomfortable.
Fun
but
for
if you
you.
Like that sort of thing.
Fun for you because you're sick.
It's... I don't know. Like these movies... Blue Ruin is probably my favorite.
Okay.
They're all like... You are... uncomfortable watching them, which I give him a lot of props for because I don't think that's easy to like. It's not done in a way where it's just like, oh, gore, because gore doesn't bother me,
right?
But like the way You're fucking sick watching him.
Doesn't he try to like humanize it a little bit in a way?
It feels real.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not like gore where you're like, oh, and somebody's just screaming.
Right.
It's like they're, yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's not like I'm assuming like Hellfest is or something.
Right. Yeah. Something like that.
But yeah, that's what I watched. Yeah. What about you? Anything else?
I watched The Hunt for Red October.
Oh.
So we're getting on the Jack Ryan train.
All right.
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't love it.
Okay.
But that's based on the fact that it's a plot-driven movie versus a character-driven movie.
You know, it is, except for I feel like the Russians have more character in it.
Right. That was my big thing, is that you've got James Earl Jones and you got Alec Baldwin, and they're the good Americans.
Right.
Oh God, and there's one other guy. I'm blanking on his name right now.
The guy from Backdraft, by any chance? Is that who you're talking about?
Maybe.
I thought the little team on the other sub that was pretty good too.
Yes. Well, you had Tim Curry.
Yes.
You had Sean Connery, and you had Sam Neill on the Russian side.
Yep, Sam Neill was good,
and that's killer. That's a killer cast right there. And Sean Connery's character is the most interesting character in the whole movie.
He's fucking awesome in it.
He is.
Yeah,
he is. And by comparison, when you're spending time with Alec Baldwin, you're kind of like, all right, you're fine, but can we get back to the sub, please? Well, so it ran a little long.
I liked the way they did the. Like they're speaking Russian at first,
right?
And they zoom in and they're like, "Don't worry, we're not going to make you listen to Russian with subtitles this whole time." And they zoom out, and it's like, "Oh, they all are speaking English." And then at the end, when they meet, Sean Connery does know how to speak English.
Yes,
and he just speaks English and sounds the exact same as when he was speaking Russian.
Yep, it was great.
It's hard to explain. Really,
I don't really care. It was fine. It's Sean Connery. You know, you just sort of throw suspension of disbelief out the window.
It really makes me miss Sean Connery watching that movie. Because he did play a type of character. Like, there's nobody around that's quite like Sean Connery anymore.
That's true.
You know?
I think one of my favorite things about the movie was the music. It's so operatic.
It's, very... I think that was Horner who did the first one, too.
It was amazing. I kept on just being like, this is like this blows away any music from any of the modern action, Mission Man movies.
Yeah, that's how all of them are too.
Okay.
They all have like a weird, it doesn't feel like something you'd see in this type of movie anymore.
Right. Because when I say it's a plot driven movie, like Alec Baldwin doesn't really have like any sort of arc. His thing is kind of like he has to get over his fear of flying. That's kind of his thing in the movie. But beyond that, he doesn't have like a personal hurdle that he has to jump. And so
maybe that's why they went the other direction that they did in the sequels.
Yeah.
Because he does. Clearly, he's like, I got to protect my family. But the score was actually Basil Poliduris. Excuse me. Horner must have done the later one. Yeah, big fan. He did the RoboCop score.
Oh, okay. Well, I am a fan then. Between these two.
Starship Troopers, the Conan movies.
Dude, he did the Conan movies? Those had actually pretty cool scores for the time. Dude, those were pretty good. I am a fan.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
He's pretty good.
Holy shit.
But, so it gets a little more, Harrison Ford centric when he's the... Yeah. But... as far as like playing if you're looking for like the analyst who's thrown into this situation, like Harrison Ford feels like, he's an action guy.
Right.
Whereas with Alec Baldwin, it feels a little more like, this makes sense. He's kind of a nerd.
He did feel like a nerd. He had a little bit of there was a moment when he's getting shot at in the submarine by the person who was the traitor on that sub. And he has a little bit of a John McClane moment of like, things in here don't react well to bullets. I don't react well to bullets. And he does a really good Sean Connery impression. I was like, dude, that was the moment where I was like, I like you more now than I have throughout this entire movie.
It's funny. It's funny though, to your like, I like the scenes on the Russian sub the best. I also like like the guy from the Mighty Ducks, the old guy who's trying to talk.
Yes.
You know, the one dude's trying to he's trying to bullshit the guy and helping find the sub.
Those are some of the best scenes.
Yeah,
too.
I like that little plot
scenes.
too.
And then Alec Baldwin's scene when he meets all the generals and he meets like
that
the senator.
Was good.
That was a good scene
yeah.
too. I mean, it's all pretty good. It's just I didn't love it. You know,
right. God, it's so funny. It's one of those movies, though, where like almost every character's like, oh, it's the principal from Ferris Bueller. Right. Oh, right. It's the old guy from the Mighty Ducks.
Yes. Yeah, I kept on having that throughout the whole movie, and actually it was a little distracting, if I'm honest.
Well, at the time,
it's just actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stellan Skarsgård.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I love seeing him in the movie. I was actually a little disappointed because I was like, I want a Stellan Skarsgård, Sean Connery scene where it's just like the two of them talking.
No, but I kind of liked that they kind of introduced you to his character and how he was like kind of the rival or whatever.
Right.
And then like they went long enough where you had kind of forgotten that threat was even out there.
Right.
And then at the end, it's like, oh, shit.
Right.
I thought everything was good, and
there were two moments, and if for anybody who loves this movie, I'm not trying to knock the movie. It's a product of its time. So there are two things that made me laugh at the end, and I did laugh at the movie. So there's the bit where Stellan Skarsgård shoots the missile or whatever, and they're underwater, and then they get turned around and they get shot by their own missile. And the guy's like, "You killed us, you arrogant son of a bitch." And I was just, and I just laughed because I was like, "This is so 90s."
Hey, it's a pretty exciting little submarine.
It's about it's about as exciting as you can get for a submarine scene.
Yeah.
It just made me laugh because it was so 90s.
It was very 90s.
And then there was a bit.
But there's something I like about that. Like now, if they did this, it would be this fucking CGI. Like, you know what I mean? It would be this fast action.
And I was blown away with actually how good the effects were down there for the most part. I was like, this is probably exactly what it would look like. So I was
dark. You can't see anything.
Dark as fuck.
It's true.
And then the other thing that made me laugh was at the end of the movie when it's Sean Connery and Alec Baldwin talking on the boat, and they're overlooking like all those islands at night.
The background was terrible.
It was blue screen. And
oh my god!
It was so bad. And there's one part where Alec Baldwin turns over, and so you can see his hairline on the side as he turns over to Sean Connery, and the island behind him goes into his hair.
I believe it.
And so I was like, that made me laugh a little bit.
Why the fuck can't you just get on a boat somewhere?
It
doesn't make any sense to me.
It was probably budgetary.
And it's like a good scene, too. It's like the final conversation.
It is a good scene, and it took me right out of it. I was like, oh.
Yeah, because they're talking about going fishing or whatever.
Yep,
and
yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it is distracting.
But it was an enjoyable movie.
Oh, it's good, dude. I love that movie.
I wouldn't call it great, but it was enjoyable. I had a good time.
Great. Most listening who have seen it are like, oh, damn you, home at the movies once again. Well,
I mean, it's like, are you going to get mad at me for saying I liked a movie but didn't love it?
Yes. In this instance, yeah. Speaking of great movies.
Okay.
Camp Manna.
Oh.
Aren't you so excited, Ian?
It's a phenomenal place to get a leg up on friend making. Phenomenal!
I'm sure it is.
Who's prepared to make this the best week in the annals of Manna history?
So yeah. In all, like putting all the cards on the table here.
Full transparency.
Yes, right. We were sent this screener for this movie Camp Manna. Neither of us had heard of this.
Right.
And you find out why we haven't heard of it.
Yes.
But I looked up the trailer and I was instantly intrigued because it's got this Jimmy Tatro guy from the Drawing the Dicks show on Netflix. Forget the name of the show, but he's the guy who drew the dicks or supposedly drew the dicks. American Vandal.
Okay.
Very funny show, by the way.
Is it? Okay.
It's like a fake documentary where someone has, like, he's assumed to be the guy who, like, vandalized all these cars with dicks.
Was he the preppy, like, camp counselor?
Yes, he was like the cool camp counselor.
Right, yeah.
And then Gary Busey
Yeah, and Gary Busey
runs the camp. Nobody else are you going to recognize in this?
No.
But basically, premise, kids' parents died. I'm just going to go ahead and say spoilers for this because it's so ridiculous and,
Please.
Kid was being baptized when alligators attacked and killed his entire family.
Yeah, this isn't revealed that early on, though.
No, whatever. I'm just giving you the...
Okay.
So he went to live with his aunt and uncle,
And
yep. They're like Jesus freaks.
Yep. Jesus is just all right with me. Like that kind of shit.
Yeah. So the movie starts and it's like, okay, well, is this going to be like you're in the headspace of this kid and it's making fun of all these people?
Right.
Which it kind of does, but then it turns into
just a Christian movie about embracing the Lord, and that's how you'll get over your fear.
Right. So I'm just going to let you, I mean,
well,
you can start
why don't,
with this.
I want the people to get your opinion first.
It's not the worst movie I watched this weekend.
Oh,
it's not.
Ooh.
Now is it the worst, like, production wise, acting wise? Sure. But
I would argue that the other movie that was bad,
worse.
I would argue that they're on the same level. They
that's bad.
They are the exact same.
Ooh.
Because here's the thing. They both don't have great acting. They both don't have great production value, despite the disparity in their production costs.
We're talking about Venom, by the
Yeah.
way, just so you're aware.
I shouldn't make this a dual review. This movie fucking sucks.
Yeah, I didn't hate it as much as you did.
I would part the Red Sea just to bury myself as deep in the Red Sea as I could, so I could never see this movie again if I had to.
All right, well, I'll be the guy to play good cop then.
Okay, fair enough.
There were some things that I thought were kind of funny.
Okay.
Like, first of all, the idea that
Are
the
you
kids...
referring to notes right now?
No, I wanted to get the directors.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, God damn it, Alex. There were some things I found funny. But no, I did not take notes.
I thought you were like getting prepared for like counter arguments.
So they poke fun at Christianity. Like
They do.
they're not acting like this shit isn't weird.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
So, like, for instance, they have to do these God games, right? And in one of them, like,
it's heavyweights.
it's heavy.
It's heavyweights, but Jesus.
right. So okay. If I
But
watched,
worse.
it's a little worse,
but
than
much
heavyweights.
worse.
I don't know if it's much worse. I really don't. Heavyweights sucks.
Ben Stiller is
Don't-
so much better than Gary Busey in this movie, and that alone raises it to a D.
Ben Stiller does play basically the dodgeball character,
And that's fine.
Heavyweights.
It was before Dodgeball came out.
But like, so I like the idea that alligators ate the kid's family. That made me chuckle. There's one character played by the Drawing Dicks guy who basically he's like really cool and he's always one-upping like the nerdy, really Jesus-y counselor,
yeah.
by saving souls, quote unquote, by being like the cool counselor who all the kids want to hang out with.
Which was the one joke that I laughed
You liked
at.
the tattoo?
He has a tattoo that says "Souls Saved," and then he's got a bunch of marks on it.
All right, so my biggest laugh came when the kid reveals that his parents were eaten by alligators.
Okay.
And Gary Busey laughs in his face.
Right.
That was funny to me. I liked the bit with the pie eating contest. Not necessarily the way it was done, but the idea that like Christians would at a camp like take this moment that's like this holy great moment and turn it into the Last Supper pie eating contest. So
Yeah.
everyone's dressed up like in the painting of the Last Supper and they all start eating the pies and puke all over themselves.
Yeah, I don't even. I sent you texts about this movie, and I said, there was a real promise in this premise, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, but not if you do it this way. This whole like Jesus golf, the leap of faith where they jump on a big thing and then the other person flies off it and flies into the water.
I didn't like the leap of faith, but the rest of them I felt like, okay, this makes sense. I bet this is the dumb kind of shit that they do.
It's so bad and so shallow. Like it's
but
like
that's what camp is like.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like if you're gonna make a Christian movie about it, I would think that you would try to have something to say. That's the thing about this movie is like it has almost nothing to say.
Don't let anything get you down so far that you can't ask for help from Jesus.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, basically, the main character is this kid.
Yeah,
who
he's the only non-believer,
right?
At the whole camp,
and like he's afraid of the water because of the big alligator incident.
Well, because by the way, he was getting baptized at the time, which is like, why didn't the alligators eat you? Why did they eat your parents?
God, man.
Because Christianity. Well, I mean, he needed to have an axe to grind against Christianity.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that's the disingenuous thing about the movie. And we're going to get into disingenuous when we talk about Venom. But that's the disingenuous thing about this movie is like, oh, he's a non-believer. Oh, well, the reason that non-believers exist is because alligators attack their parents and they hate Christians. If they would just accept that Jesus has a plan, that they wouldn't be non-believers.
Well, see, to me, I take it like I don't believe in any of this shit. So I'm just watching it through the lens of like whatever you believe in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that they made a movie that they were like, they clearly made it. This is something that I bet like Christian groups would show whatever. But I don't feel like if I was like Jewish or something that I would watch this and like be upset, because I feel like whatever you believe in, they're saying like, just believe, man. You know?
If they were saying just believe, they'd be fine with him believing in something else. It's the idea that he's at a Christian camp,
right?
And they are trying to make
now
him
you're
believe
getting
in
into like
Christian.
It's a Christian camp, so they made it Jesus, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like the whole conversation when he laughs in the kid's face about his parents, like the false evidence appearing real thing. That's all shit that you would say. It doesn't matter.
I just. It's not funny. It's literally take all the religious stuff out of it, which is just like it really probably should just be taken out because it has no bearing on the story whatsoever, and it doesn't do anything with any of that other than like the souls saved bit. It doesn't do anything with its premise. It does everything that Heavyweights does or any summer camp movie. Wet Hot American Summer, it's that, but so much worse. Because
I don't think it's so much worse.
I'm not saying
because those movies are terrible.
I'm not saying Wet Hot American Summer is a great movie.
I haven't seen that. I've never seen it.
Okay. It's a Paul Rudd and a bunch of people from back in the day. It's decent. But this is every summer camp movie, but just boring. Like they're telling a bad story about the haunted nature of the camp. And then somebody comes and opens the door and they all scream.
That's what you do in a camp movie.
It's fucking it's
But I do want to mention, so the Eric Scott Johnson and Eric, I'm going to butcher this name, Eric Makila? I'm assuming that this is like something they've experienced.
Okay.
Because why else is this your project?
Okay, here's the thing.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
right. Here's the thing. There were some decent actors in the movie who probably could go places.
I thought the fat redhead kid was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good.
And the oh hey, I'm bad, you know, I saved the souls.
Save the souls, bro.
They actually none of them were awful.
No,
maybe the main kid.
The main kid was actually pretty bad, which felt and you know, I don't like shitting on kid actors, but he just
whatever.
I don't know why he was chosen as the main kid. And also it's so strange because he's like 12 and everybody else at this camp is like at least 16.
Older. Yeah. Well, that's a
like that was
that's
so
a good
weird
point.
Like I was like, why is he here? Why and how is anybody
I think
like
they were playing up like the new kid outsider angle.
Right. But he's a twig. Like those kids in like the religious right or whatever it was.
The righteous whatever. The religious right. Like the righteous oh god damn, what was the name of them? They all had stupid names.
Yeah. Well, there was like the what was theirs? The Passover privates.
Yeah, they were the pussy group.
Jesus.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, it was just so annoying because it was so weird because it was like this movie wanted to have a Christian message, but then like none of the characters were even particularly Christian.
I like that though, because you're not gonna get like a fucking load of just Bible thumpers.
No,
you know what I mean?
No, I just mean like, but they still used Christian rhetoric. Like, oh well, you're a non-believer. Like the fat redhead kid, like gives him a bunch of shit, and I'm like, you're kind of a terrible dude. Like, you're not a good
He's
Christian.
Smoking cigs and shit outside.
Well, and he's like,
but they are hypocrites. I mean, there are, you know,
there are hypocrites, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what this movie is trying to say. I don't know what it's trying to do. All I know is that it wants to make me laugh, and it's failing miserably at that.
It's about overcoming your fear, Alex, through faith.
See, and that's the thing is like they kind of like they try to make it have a message near the end, and I'm like, no. You squandered too much screen time on your shit attempts at humor for me to say that this has any sort of heart. It has no heart.
It has heart.
No, it has no heart.
Stop it.
It's dead on arrival. And it will not be resurrected.
Well, it's not good. It's not like something that your average Joe
what did
our
you say?
age would like.
It's a solid D.
It's a solid D. But like a 12-year-old kid might think it's great.
Maybe.
Christians might think it's great. It's got 5 stars on audience reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
How many reviews are there?
I don't know, but I guarantee you they're all uber Christian folks who probably were sent this movie like we were.
You know what a bunch of other uber Christian folks like?
Venom.
No. God's Not Dead.
That's true.
And that movie is straight up propaganda.
Have you seen it?
I have seen like 4 or 5 reviews of people just tearing it to shreds.
Now, there was one with Greg Kinnear that I kind of liked where his like daughter died and came back or something.
I don't
and it wasn't
know what
that bad.
is. I don't know what that is.
It had Alias or Electra or whatever the fuck her
Electric
name is.
Nachos?
No, Electra. Who played her again? Jennifer Garner.
I think
she was in it.
I
could be.
That's
Jennifer,
her
I'm
alias.
sorry if she wasn't
Garner.
really in it. Yeah.
That's her alias as Electra is Electra Nachos.
Oh.
Electric Nachos.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yeah, no, that was it. I mean, I would recommend this if you're a Christian person or you have kids who want to watch a dumb camp movie.
I don't even know if I could offer this to kids. Like, I don't even know if kids would find this funny. Like, I don't.
Christian kids who like grew up, like are in this. You know what I'm saying?
I don't. Look, I was a Christian kid. I went to a Christian camp. It was nothing like this. It was actually much cooler than this.
Well, there you go. Hey, it sounds like they need to do the sequel at your camp.
That should have.
I went to a sports camp, and there were aspects of it that like kind of was the same. You had your crew with its stupid nicknames, and you know, like I don't know, there was like a cliquey nature to it.
Right.
But
where was the girls' camp?
Well,
I'm just kidding. I don't care. I didn't want any of that in this movie.
That would have made it worse.
If
you had like girls that they were all pervy around and shit, it would have been even worse.
When the movie first started and he's living with his aunt and uncle and it's all Christian and it's all over the top and like they're Christian nuts and he's just kind of like, what the fuck is this? I was like, well, none of this humor is landing. Is this like a weird like Tim and Eric skit? Like, is that what I'm going to see? Is like Tim and Eric meet Gary Busey? But no, it's just awfully structured jokes.
With heart.
With no heart.
Yeah,
cliche.
It's very
tropes,
cliche. Very tropey.
Tropes up the ass.
Oh yeah, every trope you could
tropes
think of.
all over that cross.
But it has heart. Like clearly the people who made it were like, this was like a labor of love for them. You can tell.
This was dog shit. This was absolute dog shit. This is going in the worst of the year. Easily. This is right up there with Extinction.
Well, so whoever's running the Camp Manna movie Instagram page, hope you're glad we reviewed your movie. We're never going to be dishonest if anybody sends us anything.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my guns no matter what you send me. Which reminds me, don't we have to review a nice little short film that was sent to us?
I think we do. I can't even remember the name of it, though. About a killer puppet of some sort, correct?
Yes,
or a toy?
What was it? Pappy's World?
Pappy. Yeah, old Pappy. So I'm going to let you take this one because my brain almost fucking fell out of my head trying to follow this little 8-minute short.
Yeah, this was something else. So it's a little girl, a teenage girl, and it's Christmas time at her house, and she's there with I believe her grandpa, and she really wants to open her present. So she opens her present, and lo and behold, it's Pappy.
Pappy,
like an old. Honestly, it looks like a very racist doll.
Yes,
it's
clearly.
It
reminded me of. Did you ever see Tales from the Hood? You ever seen that movie?
No.
That there's one part in that this reminded me of.
Okay.
With dolls that like come to life. It's like on a New Orleans, like Louisiana, like farmhouse.
Okay.
Whatever. But continue.
So Pappy comes to life, and he's kind of like, tickle me, Pappy's world. Yeah. Come and tickle me.
And he looks just like the sleeping dad who's in the room.
Yes. And then the grandpa wakes up, and first the girl starts getting like possessed or something. Then the grandpa wakes up. Then he's like, no, you can't play with the doll. Then he does something with it. I can't quite remember everything because it starts getting fucking
weird. Super fucking weird. I could not tell what it was trying to say, really. There had to have been some sort of
like deep message or something.
It's almost like a Vietnam veteran or something was going on.
Because the grandpa starts having like flashbacks, and then there's like this part where like this paper mache thing starts talking to him with like what is clearly a thumb poking up out of the ground.
Yep.
And that was pretty funny. And then like there was a bit where like he started like, I don't know, going after like a female doll. He was like, I'm gonna tickle you or something like that.
Was that when the guy's feet were stabbed?
Yes. Yeah, like Pappy comes up behind him and stabs him. And then I don't quite remember what happens at the very end, but I believe like the daughter looks like a witch of some sort.
Yeah, I think it was the daughter.
Yeah. And then it just kind of ends. I will say this. So we should probably look up the people who were in this movie.
I can tell you that it was directed by Matt Wisniewski.
All right, Matt. Okay, so Matt Wisniewski.
Thank you, Matt, for sending this to us, by the way.
Yes, thank you, Matt. Clearly, this is kind of like a first-time project, probably next to no budget. Made all on passion. And I would say, for probably a first-time like thing, not bad.
It's well made.
Like I mean, there are certain things like your set design is a little poor, and I understand that that's production shit,
Right.
But there was like this good like sort of circular shot where the girl starts going nuts.
Yes.
And that was pretty good.
And the puppeteering, like the actual puppet, was pretty neat.
The puppeteering was pretty good.
This is one where it's like, I wasn't bored for the 8 minutes that I was watching.
Absolutely not.
I'm not gonna shit on it because I didn't understand it.
Right. It was a little nonsensical, but I don't know if it's nonsensical or if there was a purpose. Which is where I sort of get into either way. You need to make it more clear if it is nonsensical, or make your message a little bit more clear. For your 8 minutes, but.
Well, maybe he'll take a phone call. We can have him on the show and have him kind of try and walk us through this.
Right, I'd love to. I mean, and if it's just some sort of like fever dream type thing, awesome. It was totally cool for what it was.
But yeah,
I will say
I'll reach out to him.
My favorite thing about it, though, the music. The music was phenomenal.
I can't even remember it. I watched it once, right when he sent it to me.
Okay.
What style of music was it?
It kind of goes all over the place. It's got a bunch of different. I mean, there's not like straight hip hop in it or anything like that, but there's like I want to say like old timey kind of jazz.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. That's what I kind of figured.
But it wasn't just that. There were other genres in there too, and I was like, this is musically diverse, and also every single song is well made, like astonishingly well made. Considering I'm looking at the shots and I'm like, this guy had no money, How is the production value on these songs so incredibly
great?
Don't
know that. Maybe he made it for $25 million.
Oh, he's a Tommy Wiseau?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's a Tommy Wiseau. This is better than The Room.
It is. It absolutely is.
There you go, buddy. That's your positive review. Pappy's World. Better Than the Room.
Better Than the Room.
Bored and
put
annoyed.
Put it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, right.
I will say there was one glaring thing outside of the fact that I didn't know what was going on. There was one thing where I was like, they got like very clearly a young guy to play the old grandpa. And that's just a matter of like, this is probably some guy in college and he's working with who he can, And so I look at it like if you had gotten somebody in the proper age, it wouldn't have been distracting,
Yeah, it looked a little goofy.
Yeah. And so that was like my one gripe is make sure that you can try and get, because my sister for a while dated a guy who was a aspiring filmmaker, and he put himself in the old man role.
Ooh.
And he directed, he starred, it was so bad because he just played like old Jewish man, and he wasn't Jewish, so it was kind of like,
did he do like a Jewish like voice? Like
yeah.
Oh God,
it was not good.
You can only do that if it's like comedy,
right?
You can't try to do that seriously unless you're like a fucking amazing actor.
Well, it's like, yeah, did we learn nothing from Billy Crystal in The Princess Bride?
The king's thinking son fired me, and thank you so much for bringing up such a painful subject. While you're at it, why don't you give me a nice paper cut and pour lemon juice on it? We're closed.
This was entertaining as fuck. Like, you make me another short film, I will gladly watch another short film from you.
Well, I'll contact him. We'll try and have him on. He can talk about Pappy's World.
Awesome.
Could do like a breakdown, a scene,
shot by
shot breakdown of Pappy's World. But yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, support some guy who's just made his little movie for fun. It's a fun little thing.
But let's get into the theater viewing.
The theater viewing. All right. Well, I think we're starting with A Star Is Born, correct?
Sure.
Yeah, the big Lady Gaga movie.
Lady Gaga.
How is
Bradley
Lady
Cooper
Gaga going to do in her first, big screen starring role, huge production, a lot of money behind it, a lot of advertising behind it.
Fucking phenomenal.
She was great. The movie was really good.
Bradley Cooper was astonishingly good.
Yes.
Sam Elliott, always great.
I think the stuff with Sam Elliott was some of my favorite stuff in the movie.
Oh man, I loved this movie. I haven't said that a lot this year. I loved.
It was
this
really
movie.
good.
It just hits you right at the beginning. So basic premise, this is actually a remake and Bradley Cooper's directorial debut, by the way. And it is the third remake. The original was made in 1937, then there was one made in the 50s, and then there was one with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson.
Have you seen any of these?
I haven't.
Neither have I.
Now, I knew the basic premise going in. It was kind of spoiled for me on the internet.
Okay, I didn't know like how it was going to end, any of that kind of shit.
So even knowing the story, like the basic outline, it was still super emotionally gripping because the characters are so fleshed out.
They're good. They're a little bit... I feel like I'm being too harsh on it, but they're a little bit like... They're like caricatures or something of what, the lady found on the street who becomes the starlet.
And the aging rock star.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is fine.
Right.
Like, I don't care. I'm just,
It's kind of one of those things where, I do it with, Die Hard. You get people to watch Die Hard who have never seen it, and they're like, oh, it's a little cliche. It
sounds like somebody who just watched The Hunt for Red October.
Exactly. I bet you if I had seen that 15, 20 years ago, I'd be like, it's a fucking great movie.
It is a great movie.
But it is one of those things where it's such an influential movie. The original was. And it does outline what happens to so many stars.
True.
So I mean,
I think the original was actually an actress.
I believe
that's
so.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
that's about as much as I had heard about any of these movies.
And it's so much like if you've ever watched The Doors with
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer, it's very akin to that kind of thing. And it's like that. That just, I mean, how much do you fault the movie for basically just saying what happens to?
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's a kind of a timeless tale.
It is a timeless tale.
How do you handle aging when you're in this world, and maybe it's like not so much your time anymore. Some, you know, how do you deal with jealousy of like the new people, the new music, the whatever, and how do you handle getting this fame?
Right.
You know.
Right.
So
Yep. How do you prioritize your relationship when you're in this
Well,
situation?
quick basic premise. You mind if I mean, people might probably can just tell from the trailer, but Lady Gaga plays kind of a starving artist who sings like once a week at a local drag bar.
Yep.
Bradley Cooper plays like a rock star. Clearly he's famous. He's on tour and he stops in at this bar, sees Lady Gaga perform.
Yep.
They strike up a relationship and it leads to him helping Lady Gaga get a career.
Yes. That's the basic premise.
That's about the best premise work I've done on the show so far.
Yeah, that's very
nice and concise.
Yes. Yep. Very succinct. Do we want to get into spoilers? Because I think we basically sort of gave our. I mean, what would you give this for a grade?
Oh, I would give it A-.
Okay.
It's really good. It's one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
I decided, by the way, today, I was thinking, I had told someone, like, maybe it's one of the best of the year. And then I thought to myself, like, I can't keep saying that. I need the list at the end of the year.
Right.
I will fucking look at it. I'm not going to say that anymore unless it's something that's, like, clear cut for me.
Right.
You know. So
this was a solid A from me.
Okay. That's good.
Not even an A-. This is going to be in my top 10. I just need to remember to actually do that.
Yeah.
But it is so fucking good. The music is good. The relationships are good. The characters, I don't believe that they're caricatures at all because I believe Bradley Cooper is really well fleshed out.
He is.
His history with his father, his brother, his substance abuse. I mean, he's one of the most three-dimensional characters I feel like I've seen in a while in a film. Probably going back to like Toni Collette in Hereditary.
Yeah, he was my favorite part of the movie, to be honest.
I mean, I really liked Lady Gaga too.
She was good, but she didn't have the fucking emotional, fucked up nature to the story that he did. So he had a ton to chew on as far as what he was working with.
And some people are saying it's a vanity project, to which I say, fuck you, it's great. It's a fucking great movie.
Like every Tom Cruise movie, all vanity projects. Every Mission Impossible movie. Hey, look at me. I can jump on helicopters.
Yes,
and
but can you...
Bradley Cooper's like,
I
can speak as like a countryman and cry.
And sing and direct.
Yeah, he was good.
And co-write songs. I mean, dude was like, this is Oscar material.
Yes.
It might be Oscar bait, but this is absolutely...
He's going to be nominated for Best Actor. She will probably be nominated for Best Actress just because.
I think she deserves it. I also think he might be nominated for Best Director, considering it's his first time directing.
Yeah.
I mean,
it'll be up for Best Picture.
If Ben Affleck gets nominated for Argo, this gets nominated too.
This was way better than Argo.
I believe so as well.
Yes.
And Argo's a fine movie.
And Argo won Best Picture.
Exactly.
But that was because Hollywood loves themselves, and it's about Hollywood saving the day. Argo. That's the only reason it won.
Isn't that why it's so shocking that La La Land didn't win?
I mean, the fact that he read La La Land off the card. Yes.
Oh, man. Okay, spoilers for this movie.
Yes.
So... Bradley Cooper kills himself. That's kind of the big spoiler in the movie.
Yeah, all right. I didn't know the story, and I called that a third of the way through. I looked at Melanie, and I go, he's going to die.
Right.
I didn't say he killed himself, but I said, he's going to die.
Right.
And she was like, have you seen the other ones or something? I'm like, no. I'm just like, this doesn't feel like a character who's not going to die. They're clearly setting you up for like a go home crying.
You can feel it because I feel like, and I'm a little surprised that you're not like more emotionally on his side, given your,
my history.
Your history.
I'm gonna get into that.
Like, I looked at it and I was just like, this guy is like the epitome of like, he is trying and he just cannot, and he can't see a point. And it's not just addiction either. It's depression too.
Sure.
And like it seems like he can't.
I don't know how hard he tried. Let me be honest. Honestly,
right.
I'm sorry. Maybe that's heartless, and I know that this is a movie, and they're trying to go for the fucking jugular.
Right.
But
I think he tried, but he got out of rehab too soon. He was not ready.
yeah, you're probably right. But I mean, the movie. Okay, I've gone through, like, my favorite scene in the movie. I've gone to rehab twice. Just,
Right.
Full disclosure. He was in inpatient treatment in this movie. I thought it was really well done, especially when she came to visit.
Oh, man.
That's
Whoa.
the most brutal scene in the movie. And he basically, like, he does some horrible thing where he, like, pisses himself when she wins her Grammy.
Oh, man.
And it's hard to watch.
And it's one of those things where you're in the audience, you almost feel like you can see it happening in slow motion.
Oh, it was horrible. It was hard to look at the screen.
Because he falls down before she even
Yes.
gets fully up on the stage, and he's still like, "Oh, just stay here."
Well,
It's-
okay,
oh.
so that scene to me is great.
Yeah.
Like the whole him apologizing, he says a little bit about he feels bad about what he did to her dad.
Yes.
That part almost made me cry.
Yeah.
I might have had a teardrop or something. But that was the part where it was uncomfortable for me to watch because I've gone through that. I've
Right.
done terrible things
Yeah.
in my addiction.
Right.
And that felt like real to me. That's what it's like. And you're so raw when you're first sober.
Yes.
Because you haven't felt like any emotions at all.
Yeah, because you bury him.
Now, nobody leaves treatment and just goes and hangs out at the house.
Right.
That does not happen.
Right.
If you do that, you're fucked.
Right. Which was very clear in this movie.
But and okay, and my other and that I loved it. I loved the whole treatment aspect of the movie, his addiction, whatever.
Can I counter that just for a
Sure.
second? And I'm not saying that you're not wrong, because obviously you're right, because you've been through that. My thought is that it's supposed to show like they are like, because theirs is like a new love. This
Sure.
movie takes place over like maybe a year,
Like
maybe
a pink
2 years.
cloud, right?
And it's like it's this idea that he feels like he can't keep going without her, and it's sort of like this, I need to be with her, and she really wants me around, and it's kind of like this. That's the way I looked at it. It was like going home when it's unadvisable because you feel like
Yeah, but he can go home and like go to an AA meeting. He
Right.
could do something, and
Right.
they kind of just showed him playing with his dogs. And then
Right.
like the other thing, like he has just beaten. He's spent 3 or 4 months, 2 or 3 months, whatever, however
Right.
long he was in there. I mean, he's getting beaten over the head with all the bad shit he did every day.
Right.
And then what really sets him off is that. Basically,
manager.
her manager, who, by the way, if there's a cartoony bullshit character in this movie, it's the
him.
manager.
Right.
And the manager bothered me because the second I met him as an audience member, I
Yes.
knew he was no good.
Exactly.
So why wouldn't everyone else in this fucking movie see that too?
Well, and I think that Bradley Cooper's character actually sees it, but
Right,
he
but
doesn't. But he doesn't know what to do because this is what
Yeah, but
she's
why
wanted
would
her
Lady
whole life.
Gaga even fall for this? Like, she doesn't seem like a dumb character.
No, I think the reason it's one of those things you're blinded by the whole like, oh my god, I'm getting
Yeah, I'm
a
getting what I've
record
always
deal.
wanted.
Yeah,
Sure.
and so I mean,
Yeah,
to
but
me,
is
it's
every record executive that big of a douche? Find a different one.
I don't think so.
Right.
But I think it's like the first person that approached her. Blah
True.
blah 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 blah.
But yeah, no. So basically, what sets him off though is this guy basically tells him like, "Look, you're gonna drag her down.
You're gonna fall off the wagon,
Right.
eventually, and I want her as far away from you as possible."
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got to have a severe depression problem.
Yeah.
That's where I had to put myself in the like.
Yeah.
There's a chemical imbalance here,
Right.
Where he is fucked in the head.
Well, he can't.
And then she comes back and basically she cancels her European tour to
Right.
be with him, and he feels guilty, like he's holding her back even by being sober.
Yes.
So to him, he feels like there's no.
He just feels like there's nothing that he can do,
Right.
and there's nowhere for him to go. And for him, it was very clearly that in his life when he met her, she was his lifeline.
Sure.
She gave him purpose. She made him see a reason. To
Yeah,
keep
they
going.
kind of and they played that up with like his brother makes comments, but he hasn't played like that in a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, but
And
yeah,
he-
no,
and he
that, and
does-
none of this is like necessarily a problem with the movie. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, I don't know, something I thought of. I wouldn't dock it for that.
Mm.
The only thing I would dock it for would be the cartoony character,
Right.
Because that kind of bothered me. That took me out of the movie because
Okay.
it's like, okay, you almost have like a mustache twirling villain in this movie.
There are people like that, though.
Sure. But,
I mean, I know it took you out of the movie.
But people aren't
like,
that stupid, Alex. People don't. Lady Gaga wouldn't just love this guy.
Oh, I don't even think that she loves him because he's constantly making her do things that she's not.
True, but she's
like,
hugging him all the time. She's thankful all the time. Like the scene where Bradley Cooper is drunk and he's an asshole and he like confronts her when she's in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Like, true, they would fight about that. He said some mean shit, but
Yeah.
she would also be like, you know what? Some of the shit he's saying is true. I'm sorry.
Wait, what?
There's a scene where he comes in.
I know. What did he say? Because I remember
that she's not being herself. That she's like blinded by this shit, and she's fucking singing about grinding on dudes and whatever.
Right.
Like,
I think it might be one of those things where you get into an argument. I don't know if you've ever had this, where you get into an argument with a significant other, and you sort of like glaze over and you don't remember everything that they say. You remember like the things that really cut deep. Like he calls her ugly in that fight.
Sure, but
bullshit. And he says my dad had more talent in his pinky.
You remember what the fight was about.
Yeah.
You remember the basis of the fight.
Well, the fight started because he brought up like the whole like the way your ass looks in those jeans. He brings up one of her lyrics.
Right, which is to his point. That's his point. His point is like, this isn't you.
Right. Well, and what I'm saying...
And he's an asshole about the way it's presented because he's drunk, and that's what drinking does.
Right.
Like, he doesn't mean... Like, you as a viewer are even watching it like, okay, well, this is weird. This isn't the kind of, like, shit that I pictured this character, like, singing about or doing or whatever.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's
but
meant
the way
to be
he's brought it up is awful. But still, this manager guy...
Right.
Like, it feels like it feels like something from an old movie. You know what I mean? To me.
I do. I mean, it also makes sense. Like, at the end of the day, it makes sense on his part because he doesn't know that this Jack guy is going to kill himself, you know? So he's just saying it because it's like, I have to protect my financial investment.
Right.
I need my artist to be of sound mental stability.
I get that.
And so, like, even though, like, I think, and also he also, like, you're saying he's cartoonish. I also just think that there are people like this in the industry because they're like, look, I've studied all this shit. This is how you maximize your profits. This is how you maximize your fan base. These are the things that we have to do. Like, and you can be on board or you can not be on board, but you really need to listen to me because I am very successful at this. And there are people that would just treat you like that.
Yeah, but she like hugs him and thanks him all the time. I don't know. It fucking bothered me.
Okay.
Because he's not a real person to me.
Fair enough.
Like,
I mean, they didn't do anything to make you see him as like a real guy outside those things. That's very true.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there wasn't a moment where it's like, oh, like he actually is a decent guy.
Oh, he's got a family.
Right. Yeah, right. Exactly. Now, that's not my biggest gripe, though. My biggest gripe is just that the second act drags. The movie felt long. Just the movie felt long from the time where she's starting her career and she kind of like gets into the pop music aspect of it to the time when everything goes off the rails for him.
Okay.
To the Grammy scene. That's where it picked back up to me.
Okay.
But there was a chunk in there between like, oh, this is a neat new relationship and what he's courting her and she's going to the shows and singing with him and stuff. And the end, which is he pisses himself on the fucking stage during the Grammys. That was when it turned into, oh my God, this is amazing again.
Right.
But it felt long. It felt long to me.
I think the reason it feels a little long, and it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't want the movie to lose this, but it's the fact that they come up with multiple songs, and all the music in this is great, by the way.
It is.
But the point is that a lot of these songs, they finish from start to end. And so in those times, the movie becomes a concert and not a movie. And in that regard, you're not getting new character information. You're just kind of like doing these things over and over again. You're getting 3 or 4 songs in the second act.
Well, and you also kind of get it at that point, right?
Somewhat.
You get it. I get it. He's a fucking off his rocker.
The scenes in
rocker. But he's off his fucking, he's out of his mind. He can't stop drinking. He goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
The scenes in between I really like because it shows that he is it really establishes him as he's not just somebody who just keeps drinking and does it and is remorseless about it. He is trying. That it sets that up, but it also sets up his relationship with his brother.
Okay, so those are the exceptions.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like the second act still has new information for you. It's just not necessarily about their specific relationship.
The stuff with his brother was great.
Yeah, Sam Elliott
when he
plays his
punches
brother.
him in the face because he sold the house that he gave
Great
him.
scene.
And then at the end when he basically tells him like, I wasn't idolizing Dad, I was idolizing you. That got me.
Ooh.
That got me pretty good.
That was so good. As like an older brother, I was like, oh
yeah, and I have
fuck.
an older brother.
Yeah.
Idolize him for some things.
I'm sure my brother doesn't idolize me for a lot.
But no, it was good. I like A-. I mean, I'm not giving it a bad grade. I feel like I'm trying to be the yin to your yang here.
Right. Oh yeah, because I loved it. Right.
Yes. But yeah, I thought it was really good. I figured it would be good.
Yeah. I walked in not expecting it to be as good as it was. I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those, critics love it, but it's not,
It reminded me, did you ever see Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges?
No, I didn't see that one.
That's what it reminded me of, only it was more like Hollywood mainstream than that. But you had like the drunk old artist.
Right,
and
right.
I mean, it's Jeff Bridges, so of course he's great.
I should check that out.
The music's good in it.
Right.
I think they did like a full album worth of shit for that movie.
Right.
But yeah, the performances were entertaining to watch in this.
Right.
I was digging it.
I love the fact that like Bradley Cooper is one of those guys who like he does the rocket voice and he does like all these like, you've seen him in interviews. And he does all these great impressions.
He certainly proved that he can pretty much do it all in this.
Yeah.
I mean, this, the fiance said he's got to get best actor for this. And I'm like, well, there might be something else. And I was trying to think of some best actor this year that was better than him in this.
Right.
I don't think I can pull one.
I don't.
At least not off the top of my head.
He's the clear leader at this point.
Yes, I would say so.
I can't think. Yeah, you're right. I can't think of anything that even really approaches it. But yeah, it's a great movie. Go check it out.
Go see it, and don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself in the final third because it is brutal.
It is sad. It is sad. Oh man, when she sings that song at the end that he wrote for her,
it was good.
Jesus Christ, unbelievable. Just
listen to you. You're just a sappy. You just got sucked into this.
I got sucked in.
It was really good.
I loved the beginning.
Like I said, I thought like the rising action and the fucking climax were amazing.
Yeah, I would say those things. Yeah,
even though I don't buy necessarily, but it's a movie, so I need to get over that. Just because I've like seen this in real life and the way it works,
right?
Like as far as a movie portraying this, and the movie's not all about his drug problem.
No, it's
it's not about like Bradley goes to rehab, the movie.
Right.
So, it's just an aspect of it.
Right.
I thought it like the impatient scene it was brutal.
It was so good. It was so good.
It was fucking rough.
And I did love like just their early scenes when they're getting to know each other. Like when they're outside the parking lot
with all the transvestites in the
that was great.
The bar.
That was funny.
Yes.
And I love.
And his name's Jackson, by the way.
Yes, his
bonus
name was
points
Jackson.
for the movie there.
Right. Jackson, Maine.
Okay, the last name's a little much. My name's Jackson
Lion
Maine.
Maine.
Fucking Sam Elliott, though.
Dude's amazing.
And the ending when he has the little talk with her about everybody hits 12 notes.
Yeah, and he loved the way you saw those 12 notes. Loved it. Loved it.
It's like when you're watching it, it's so sad and affecting. And then you think back, you're like, pretty cheesy.
I didn't even think it was cheesy.
Oh, it's cheesy.
Well, that is how some musicians look at it.
I mean, it love stories too.
Right. Well,
I mean,
And there is something, I love the fact, the main message of like, not everybody has your talents. And people who have your talents don't always have something to say and can't always say it in an interesting way.
Right.
And the fact that like that's kind of the main message is go out there and be yourself and let your message be heard. It's a great message.
Yeah, except for she didn't do that. She went out and pop started up on Saturday Night Live with her pink hair and fucking danced around like a loon.
But she also sang one of the songs that she wrote.
Oh, great.
I'm just saying you're gonna
she
falter.
pissed me off a little bit.
You're gonna
falter. Oh, by
falter.
the way, Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah. I forgot about that. Great
amazing.
Scene. Great scene. Loved it.
An amazing performance by Dave Chappelle in this movie.
Right. Oh, I loved it. The whole like the the whole getting into a port scene.
Yes.
Just great. Just fucking great. And you bought him as Bradley Cooper's friend.
Oh, he was like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. Fucking loved it.
A-, folks.
A for
Aardvark.
a movie that you should see, unlike V for Venom.
Venom.
Suck a dick, Venom.
It's terrible.
You fucking blow.
It is worse than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, this movie is the essence of garbage. I hated this more than Camp Manna, and that was obviously made for like a couple $100,000 and it was about a Christian camp.
Right. I put them in the same area because they fail just as spectacularly
Now,
in the script areas.
Question is, what is this better than, Jackson? Okay, I'll tell you what this is better than. This is better than The Nun, and this is better than the Puppet movie. I think that's the end of my list of movies that it's better than.
I'm thinking. It's not good for a podcast to have one person stare at the ceiling, try and think.
No.
But I'm not sure if I agree.
It might be worse.
I mean, okay.
I mean, I wouldn't argue with you.
I have a really hard time separating. There are a couple things that you look at when you're looking at a movie, and some of it is like wasted potential. And I feel like the Venom movie has more wasted potential than either the Puppet movie or The Nun.
See, and for me, this never sounded like a good idea.
I'm not saying...
Yeah,
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying, but how much of is that you have no faith in Sony whatsoever?
I just feel like Venom to me, and I'm not even I don't read Spider-Man comics,
right.
But to me, without Spider-Man, it doesn't. Venom is a big, black, evil-looking Spider-Man.
Right. And I'm saying the premise of starting this movie without Spider-Man at all.
Okay.
Don't do that.
Sure, yes. Yes, correct.
So I'm saying you could potentially have a good Venom movie.
Yeah.
If you started it the right way. You don't make him start out as his own guy. You make him start out in a Spider-Man movie.
Correct.
He spins off from there.
Yes, no, I 100% agree.
The only way you do this.
Now you might say, well, then Jackson, why are you excited for the new Joker movie? And I would say, I feel like there's more you can do with the Joker.
Right.
As a character, he doesn't have to be tied to the hip to Batman.
No,
he doesn't look. He's not a purple Batman. He's not a.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
he is the antithesis to what Batman represents. So in that way, he is more interesting with Batman.
Sure.
But the Joker is interesting enough to carry his own
Correct.
movie. Venom could be interesting enough because there are themes that you can explore with Venom that this movie does not even bother with. It doesn't even bother with having a coherent plot.
Oh, the plot is so bad.
The
villain is the worst I've seen in quite some time.
Let's run this down real quick. So we got Tom Hardy in the lead role playing both Venom and Eddie Brock.
Michelle Williams.
Michelle Williams as the woman that has nothing to do. And
she has one scene where they give her something to do.
Yeah, they give her one thing to do.
A ridiculous thing.
A thing that I hated. And then there is Riz Ahmed, who plays the evil corporate businessman who wants to bring symbiotes to the planet so that they can fuse with humans or something and
the world's gonna end, so you want to be able to use the symbiotes to leave Earth and colonize other planets. I think,
which is so great. Which, by minor spoiler, it doesn't really matter because this movie sucks. But minor spoiler, it's a great coincidence that the symbiote that he eventually bonds with has the exact same plot or point or goal as him.
Yeah, they're going to take over Earth, right?
Yeah, the exact same thing. Well, that's so weird. I guess that's why
the actor was in The Night Of, which was a limited series on HBO.
Right.
That was really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't think he was bad in Rogue One. I don't think he's that bad, but he is.
I think he's a good actor, and he is utterly wasted. Everybody is wasted in this movie.
The villain in this is the worst I've seen in forever.
Yeah, this is. I would argue that this villain is probably worse than any Marvel villain, including the Dark Elf from Thor.
Yeah, definitely.
He's
definitely
worse. He's worse than anything they've ever done.
Yeah, he was terrible.
He's not a person. He has a speech for every situation.
He's not scary. He's not no, he's a fucking nerdy guy.
And it's the worst thing, like one of the few things I didn't like about Black Panther was like the whole like, oh, he's got to fight an evil Black Panther at the end.
Sure.
But there's a thematic relevance there to it.
Kind of reminded me of the Hulk movie with Ed Norton.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly what this is, except these Hulks can turn into paint splatters every 10 seconds.
And you don't care about either of these Hulks
exactly.
at all.
Exactly.
Like Tim Roth isn't a deep character, but he played it like menacing, and he was like,
oh yeah,
creepy, and
he had personality.
Right. Yes.
Because Tim Roth has personality.
Yes. And they wrote a character who was mean and a fucking monster.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, okay, so basic premise is Eddie Brock is a reporter. He finds this life foundation that Riz Ahmed runs, and they're like doing these experiments. Basically, Riz Ahmed, they went to space trying to find symbiotes. They found them. There's one that got loose, and they're experimenting on other ones. They are killing people by doing these experiments. Eddie goes in and he's like, oh, you guys can't do this. He gets bonded with one of them, and then he becomes Venom, the lethal protector. Then he rides a bike. He rides a bike
and then the one that got away over the course of months somehow makes it back to the United States,
yes.
And he takes over the bad guy.
And they fight.
And he's bad Venom.
Yep.
And they fight, yes.
It's so fucking bad. Okay.
You know what? I'm gonna.
Can we start? Like, where do you want to start?
I just want to talk about a couple scenes.
Okay. Well, can we start at the beginning? Because I feel like if we don't, I'm gonna lose shit.
Is it bad that I don't even like remember how this fucking movie started?
Okay, they land, like the thing crashes.
The crash. Like, yeah. Okay, we'll start from the beginning. You're telling we have a survivor.
Right.
Like nobody makes sense. Someone could survive this. Let's make sure and get the medical attention.
Right.
It's a fucking space shuttle that just burned through the atmosphere and crashed. If there's a survivor, it's either a mistake or something's fucked.
Right.
But no, let's just put him in the ambulance. We'll fix him.
Also, I love the fact that it was J. Jonah Jameson's son. Who in the comics is actually they say, oh, who is it? Oh, it's Jameson, which is to me, it's a middle finger to the fans. It's a middle finger to the fans because Jameson.
Yeah,
you remember him from Spider-Man?
I can see that.
Fuck you. Anyways, so they start there, and like you're not introduced to Riz Ahmed. You have no idea who he is, but he's in there, and he's in that like lab room watching all this shit, and you're like, wait, what? How did you get there? Like, are you coordinating with the Malaysian police? Like,
how did you know where the shuttle was going to crash?
Right. Like, what? I don't understand what's happening and who you are. It just starts, and it just instantly it feels like the movie was hacked to pieces.
Yes.
So
this movie was clearly hacked to pieces.
Yes. Then we cut to San Francisco, and it's
a little montage of like a compilation of Eddie Brock doing reporter stuff. And okay, the character is not a reporter at all. Like what I mean is he doesn't act like a reporter.
No.
This would be the worst reporter.
Yes.
He acts like a Bronx tough guy who has like 6 jawbreakers in his mouth or something. Hey, I'm Eddie Brock. Like we're out here at the mines and blah blah blah. Like, you know,
we're out here in the landfill, and there's a body out here.
Yeah.
And city doesn't care, so why should you?
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's bad. Also, I don't buy him and Michelle Williams as a couple at all.
Oh, it was awful.
She's a fucking she's a lawyer, and she's all like business and just, you know, so
kind of prissy, stuck up.
Yeah. And he's this like schlubby dude. He's got like this double chin going on.
She likes the dark guys.
He's got these tattoos and these fucking beads on. I'm like, Tom Hardy, did you just like dress yourself and just come to set.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
It's so bad.
And how about the exposition scenes in this? Like the scene with like the fucking his boss at the news station. Like I don't even remember what they're all about, but so many scenes were just like, you know, this is blah 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 blah, and this is why he's here, and this is how this thing starts. It's just the whole fucking beginning. The whole setup is there's nothing creative done whatsoever. Nothing creative.
Right. I hate the fact that they set up Eddie, and he's this character who like he reports the news and people don't like him because he lost a job in New York because
he's an investigative reporter,
and he'll do anything to get the story. And then like he does a terrible thing. He invades his girlfriend's privacy by checking her email.
Well, he can't help himself. He's he's dedicated to the job.
And and the movie does acknowledge that was a bad thing, but it kind of just glosses over it. Like they do break up because of it, but it's like that's not his main characteristic. And I don't think the movie knows what it wants him to grow away from or grow into. Because there's at one point he says, I'm done with this helping my fellow man thing. And it's like, when were you ever helping anyone?
He was an investigative reporter. You know, if somebody was poisoning the water supply, he was there.
Who was so bad at his job that he got fired twice in like 6 months.
Yeah, he stunk.
Yeah.
Everything about this fucking movie sucked.
He goes on the street, sees a homeless person. He's broke, by the way. Gives them $20. He's broke. He hasn't been paying every bill he has is overdue. And all it is to set up, look at Eddie Brock. He's such a nice guy. He's such a nice guy. Oh, he's friends with everybody. He's friends with the Hispanic security guard. He's friends with the Asian owner of the convenience store. He's friends with everybody.
Yes.
He's such a good guy. Fuck you. I don't buy. It's so disingenuous.
It's horrible. It's a terrible fucking movie.
And then he gets fired. His boss says, okay, he fucks up that interview with Riz Ahmed because when he looks at the email, he finds out that company is actually killing people.
The interview with Riz Ahmed was such horseshit.
Oh, yeah.
This is never what would happen.
No.
Never.
Like they have they okay the questions that you're going to ask. 1, 2, it would be in probably a better setting, not just like walking down a hallway.
He wouldn't approach him like he's a fucking gangster or something.
Right.
Yeah.
The way that he approaches the whole situation is so very confrontational.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it just makes him
look like... And why the fuck would Riz Ahmed, I'm assuming he would look this interviewer up to see what his reputation was. Why would he ever do an interview with this guy?
You know what else I found funny? Okay, so there was a scene, and this is how you know the movie is cut to fucking shit. We introduced Riz Ahmed again in the movie, and there are a bunch of like little school children there.
The kids, yeah.
And one of the kids is like, excuse me, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. And one of the kids is like, shh. And he's like, no, let her speak. And then he's like, see, that's the thing is there are people who will try to silence you. She never gets to ask her question.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible. He just goes...
Also, he gives her his pin, and he's like, we're fighting for the future, or some cliche shit.
Yeah.
And then in the next shot,
he has the
pin again. It's like...
Yeah, it's terrible.
Dude, where is
that scene was terrible. That was worse than like the Attack of the Clones scene where Yoda like has the kid, you know, gravity silhouette remains.
Someone tampered with the
that
files.
Was worse than this.
Yeah.
At least this was worse than that. Nothing happened in that scene. You're right. And it was like an intro scene. Like, no, we've already met him. Just continue. Like, we understand he's corporate asshole guy.
Yeah. And he just had a stupid speech, and then they do like this stupid interview, and it's just terrible. It's just terrible.
Yeah, apparently the people in the theater with me didn't mind it because they were laughing their asses off, clapping at it, and I don't know. There's a certain demographic. We've talked about this before.
Right.
This was one of the Meg was an issue.
Right.
Now, this isn't like nobody needs to get on my ass about not being PC or something here, but there are cultural things that these movies are going for.
Right.
They're trying to hit certain markets, like China's going to love that fucking movie, The Meg.
Right.
Transformers 4.
Yep.
Like, that kind of shit.
Yep.
This is like those.
Exactly.
I want this to respect the story a little more than those do. The Meg doesn't bother me because it's just, it's fucking the Meg. Whereas Venom, it's like people. I know that there are people that love Venom. They might just love the way he looks. He's almost like a Boba Fett to me, where it's just the character design. It's iconic.
Yep.
And then you go and you just do an obvious cash grab. We have this property. Let's come up with a stupid fucking movie. I mean, the dialogue in this, like, if there was one aspect of this that I liked, it was just the back and forth between Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy as Venom.
See, I kind of hated that.
But the things they said were so stupid.
Yes.
But the idea, like the Venom voice was pretpretty good, I thought.
And the Venom personality was pretty good.
Yeah, but like the things that they're fucking... There's okay. The other bit to this is that the symbiote and the human have to have like share characteristics. You have to like kind of meld with whoever your symbiote is or whatever, vice versa. In the fucking Venom goes on to tell Tom Hardy, "Yeah, I'm a loser
like you."
Oh my God, is that canon?
That's not comic accurate. In fact, the idea is that the Venom symbiote was actually expelled from his planet because he's actually too psychotic.
Okay, well, my point is, in my head, I go, okay, if that's like comic accurate, that needs to be changed.
Right.
Because that was the dumbest fucking thing I've seen in a movie in a long time.
Well,
he literally tells Tom, like they're starting to get to know each other. And
to know each other in quotes.
He tells Tom Hardy that he's a loser. A loser, like he gets picked on. Venom.
Yeah.
He's like the nerd of the Venom land.
Yeah, isn't that... Well, see, here's the thing. You got to make your character an underdog. Everybody loves an underdog.
Just in general, here's what pissed me off the most. You've got a movie, like, okay, this is a unique idea.
Right.
We're doing a movie with a villain as the main character.
Yes.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. I don't care what comic like string of issues he was good in, whatever.
Right.
Do something different. Do like a fucking villain origin story like Split.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, do something like that. No, it's just another fucking superhero movie. It's the most generic of superhero movies.
Yes, it is.
It is awful.
It fits in with Daredevil, Elektra, all of that from the early 2000s, where it's just kind of like you have no theme, you have no overarching narrative, you have no message, you have no consistent character growth, you have no interesting characters, you make unnecessary changes to the source material that actually makes it worse. You have dumb dialogue. You have standard by the books music that is just tones. Just
it was so stupid.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad in every regard. I hated Tom Hardy's apartment. It didn't feel like a real apartment to me. I hated the fact that he had a loud neighbor, and they made Eddie a pussy in this instead of making him like this roided out, raging, testosterone fueled monster.
Yeah.
They made him a pussy so that he could go over knock on his neighbor's door when he gets the symbiote and be like, "Can you turn it down?" And get like a fucking freaky face. And fuck you. That's cheap. You saw it coming the second.
That's like the bad guy part of him they tried to show. Instead of making it like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing where it's like this struggle, this internal struggle of dealing with this thing and like the characters panicking. Maybe Venom takes over and goes and murders a few people.
Yeah.
Like fuck some shit up, like, and then Tom Hardy or Eddie Brock has to deal with that.
Yeah,
no, that would be too interesting. That would be risky.
Yeah,
that would be something that would
safe.
Yes, it's safe.
The safest fucking movie. They tell you he's a villain because he bites people's head off, but he bites two people's heads off,
and they're both bad guys,
and they're both monsters of humans.
Right. Yes, it's awful.
I also love the fact that they bond together, and. Okay, one of the funny scenes is Tom Hardy starts eating tater tots out of his freezer without heating them up. And he starts eating like a week-old chicken wing in his fucking trash. And then he goes and pukes. And it's so fucking dumb. And then later on, like, he's like, "Don't answer that door." And Tom Hardy's like, "Whoa, who said that?" And then like the fucking the military dudes from Riz Ahmed's place, they show up. And then like the guy he gets in and he's like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Why did you tell him not to answer the door if you didn't know who the fuck he was? What the fuck?" And then he says, "We know all about you, Eddie. We are in your head. And then his ex-girlfriend calls, and he's like, who is she? What?
Dude, oh yeah, that was another thing they fucked up on. There's a scene where he basically says, we know everything that you're thinking. We know everything about you.
Yeah.
And then there's who's she? It's like, you just established that you're in his head and you know what he's thinking.
Also, they do that 6-month jump.
Yes.
Which is just terrible. Also, he was married. Okay, so he got Michelle Williams fired from her job because he stole that file. And that was confidential.
Yes, clear, yeah.
And so she calls off the wedding because they were engaged.
Yep.
6 months later, she's got a boyfriend that at the very least has a key to her apartment, but probably lives with her.
Okay.
6 months later.
That's possible, though.
It's possible. It makes me not like her because that's really fast to move on.
I don't
from
know. This is your personal taste.
It is, but it's like 6 months you were engaged to somebody, and 6 months later you're living with somebody else. That just feels awfully fast to me for somebody who loved somebody else.
Maybe they really are, even though they're not, though, because clearly she's going to end up with him in a sequel or something.
And then there's this idea of like Eddie didn't take responsibility for getting her fired or like changing in any way. But they never follow that up in any sort of way.
Does he ever take responsibility for that in the movie?
Not really. No. Oh, well, no, he apologizes. He apologizes to her in the car because Venom's like, you should apologize because you might not live through this. Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was part of the scene where it's like, well, wait a minute, Venom, you know everything. And why does anyone need to explain to you who she is? Another thing that's funny is they have to like melt. You have to match your host.
Yeah.
Apparently not. Because he, at one point, takes over Michelle Williams' body.
Yeah, just so she can make out with Tom Hardy in Venom form. That was so fucking dumb. I hated that.
There's no logic to this movie.
I hated the fact that the first action sequence that we get once he gets, well, second or third or whatever, they're terrible. All the action is bland and boring.
Some of the motorcycle stuff.
I hated
Although
the motorcycle
it's funny because I was
scene.
watching it and I'm like, oh, there was a motorcycle scene in that Mission Impossible movie that was like amazing.
That was amazing. Yeah.
And then you're watching this and you're like, Jesus Christ.
You know what I was thinking instantly was like, when I go to a Venom movie, there's one thing I really want to see. A motorcycle scene. That's, Everybody remembers that issue where he rode a motorcycle through San Francisco. It's one of the greatest. Fuck you. Show me what makes the character special and do that. And find interesting ways to display the powers and have that do something.
Did he have to mention eating the guy's pancreas, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you? Like, no, people don't. Like, you just made it corny and stupid in an attempt to be like funny. No, like this should be he should be talking about like ripping his fucking limbs off and eating them like fuck. You know what I mean?
It
like,
would not have saved this movie, but a rated R movie.
Yes, it would have helped greatly.
Like, at least you could have laughed at like the gore and stuff if they had done it sort of in an over the top way. But I also don't have faith that they would have done that because this movie did nothing in an interesting way.
Just the way that read, like when he's talking about, I eat your eyes and your pancreas.
Yeah.
So it just felt terrible.
I hated Tom Hardy's voice in this.
I thought the Venom voice was okay.
No, the Venom voice.
Oh yeah, Venom. Good. No, he did his thing. Yeah.
Tom Hardy's voice was just like, what?
He didn't sound like a reporter.
He sounded like Christopher Walken almost. Like he was doing like a weird.
Yeah, the movie sucks.
What else was there? There's so much that I hated about this. I hated the last fight scene where they were fighting on the side of like a rocket.
The rocket ship scene. Yeah,
that fight lasted like a whole of 2 minutes. I would guess that the amount of screen time that you see Venom on screen total is probably about 10 minutes in this movie. Like all put together.
I felt like they showed him enough. I
was not happy with how much we got of him because there was all those action sequences at the beginning, which were just the tendrils coming out of him.
Sure. What did you think of the look of like when he's talking to Venom and it's like the head coming out?
I hated that. I hated that. It looked super fake and it looked like, why wouldn't he just stay and talk to him inside his head? I'm like, why did you waste budget on this dumbass idea? Like, that was dumb.
Puts Venom on screen.
It would have been better if they had done it the way that they did it when he looked in the car and he sees, like, the Venom version of himself.
Oh, you know what would be neat is, did you ever see, this is going to be, oh, God. Did you ever see Dreamcatcher?
No.
Okay, so there's a character in that who, like, the alien takes over, and Jonesy is the name of the character, and Jonesy is like in his head, and it's
Okay.
like a big library.
Oh.
So you see like him going around the library, like looking through his memories and shit.
Right.
And then the villain who's talking, they can talk to each other,
Right.
is like what's happening in the real world.
Okay.
So that's more interesting.
Yeah. There are so many ways.
And that movie sucks too, by the way.
There are just so many ways you could have done this creatively. Like, I look at it, I'm like, Venom is like the idea of like victim mentality mixed with like toxic masculinity. He's a dude who is nothing but rage and vengeance and takes no responsibility for his actions. He blames everything on Spider-Man. He blames everything on J. Jonah Jameson. He blames everything on everybody but himself. And then he blames everything on the symbiote for what's happening to him then. He takes no responsibility. And you did nothing with that. You did nothing with saying something about revenge. You did nothing about saying something about taking responsibility. You did nothing with this amazing potential.
Yeah. Well, to me, this is an obvious like Jekyll and Hyde thing where the main character. I mean, I don't know much. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, it's like Venom takes over, does a bunch of awful shit, and Eddie has to deal with that. And then over the course of the movie, somehow they strike a balance of, which is kind of what they tried to do. But no, you didn't do anything wrong, Venom. You ate the head off bad guys.
Yeah,
you know,
and Eddie is not a bad guy in this. In fact, he's more of like a coward, which was a change from the source material, and I understand why. It's kind of like you've got these disparate characters.
So in the source material, Eddie Brock, before he's taken by Venom, is a piece of shit.
He's a douchebag, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, he's a bad person. He's not like a monster, so you still have the disparity between the two. But no, he wasn't like a coward. He wasn't like a little bitch. He made up a story that got him fired, but he was still like a bully and he was still a jerk to people.
Well, there you go. Then you set it up so like somehow this makes him a better person.
Right. Or you could go like full on tragedy where like everybody's like, you should become a better person. And he doesn't.
You know what you do? What? You just don't make a Venom movie.
Yeah.
You just let Marvel use Venom in the future
That's
movie.
the thing that really pisses me off.
Do you think they can still do it or no?
No, I think it's over. This made too much money. This made $205 million worldwide over the weekend. It's getting a sequel.
It made 80 in America, didn't it?
It made 80. Yes, it broke the
October record.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Hey, 2 weeks from now, that record's going down.
You think so?
An R-rated
Halloween
movie. Yeah, I think people are stoked for it, dude.
I
really do. I think it's gonna have like an It. You know.
I think there's a real potential.
I think it'll happen.
I'm not sure if it's going to beat it by a landslide.
If Halloween doesn't beat this fucking movie.
I really hope it does, but
I haven't even seen it yet. It could suck, but it'll be better than this.
There's no way it is.
Yes.
But I think that's the end of the episode. I could keep talking about this for like another 20 minutes.
Week? First Man and
Bad Times at the El Royale.
A couple good looking ones.
Yeah, things are finally turning around.
And then next week, Halloween.
Yeah.
We got to do a special episode.
We're going to be doing a special episode.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for tuning in all.
Yes, have a great night, day, or whenever you're listening to this.
Yeah, and go see the Gaga movie and skip Venom.
Yeah, don't give that any of your money, please.
Yes.